Hey, welcome back. I am Alex, and this is English in Fluency, the place where we work on your English together, step by step, in a way that actually feels real. If you are watching this right now, that already tells me something about you. It tells me you care. You are not just waiting to magically speak better English one day. You are showing up, pressing play, and doing the work. And honestly, that is the most important thing. So before we even start today, I want you to know that you are in the right place. Now, today's lesson is one I have been wanting to make for a long time. And the reason I am so excited about it is because the skill we are going to practice today comes up literally every single day. It does not matter if you are talking to a coworker, chatting with a friend, watching a show, or sitting in a meeting. This comes up constantly. We are talking about how people express preference, how people say what they like, what they enjoy, what they choose, what they would rather do. All of that wonderful, very human act of sharing what you want and what you love. You know, when I first started studying languages myself, I realized something. I could answer simple questions. I could say yes or no. I could introduce myself. But the moment someone said something like, "I would rather stay in tonight," or "I am more of a coffee person," honestly, I froze. I understood every word separately. But together, something about the meaning slipped right past me. Does that ever happen to you? You hear the words, but something about the feeling behind them does not quite land? That is exactly what we are fixing today. Because understanding preference in English is not just about vocabulary. It is about tuning your ear to the patterns, the rhythms, and the little phrases that people actually use. Not textbook English. Real English. The kind people speak when they are relaxed, when they are deciding where to eat, when they are telling their friend what kind of music they love. That is what we are after. So here is how today works. We are going to go through several natural conversations between real, everyday people. We will listen closely. We will break things down. I will point out the exact phrases where people express preference, and I will explain why they sound the way they do. Then we will practice together. By the end of this video, you will have a whole new set of phrases in your ear, and hopefully in your heart too. Ready? Let us go. Before our first conversation, let me give you something to hold on to. When people express preference in English, they do not always say, "I prefer." That is the textbook version. In real life, preference sounds more like this: "I would rather," or "I am more of a something person," or "Honestly, I love," or "I tend to like," or "I usually go for," or "If I had to choose, I would say." These are the natural, flowing ways people show you what they care about. They are soft. They are warm. They sound human. And once your ear learns them, you will hear them everywhere. All right, first conversation. Two friends named Maya and Daniel are talking about weekend plans. They have not seen each other in a few weeks, and they are catching up over the phone. Listen carefully. We will break it all down afterward. Maya: "Hey, Daniel. So glad you called. I was literally just thinking about what to do this weekend. Any ideas?" Daniel: "Oh, good. I was hoping you would be free. So, I was thinking we could either go hiking up by the river, or we could just hang out at that new cafe that opened near your place. What do you think?" Maya: Okay. Honestly, I would rather go to the cafe. I love hiking, do not get me wrong, but I have been on my feet all week at work, and I just want to sit somewhere cozy and relax, you know." Daniel: "No, Totally, I get it. I was actually leaning toward the cafe, too. I am more of an indoor person when the weather gets like this. Is it still cold there? Maya. Yeah, it has been really chilly. So, yes, cafe it is. Do you have a preference on time? Morning or afternoon? Daniel. I tend to like mornings better, actually. I feel more awake and the cafe is usually quieter. But if you are more of an afternoon person, I can totally adjust. Maya. No, morning works great for me. I prefer starting my weekend early anyway. Makes the day feel longer. Daniel. Perfect. Let us say 10 o'clock. Maya. Sounds wonderful. Okay. Beautiful little conversation, right? Very natural. Very real. Now let us break it down slowly and look at everything that just happened. The very first expression of preference came from Maya. She said, I would rather go to the cafe. Now, this is one of the most common ways to express preference in English. I would rather means I want this option more than the other one. It is gentle. It is not harsh or demanding. It is just honest. And notice what she did right after. She said, I love hiking. Do not get me wrong. That little phrase, do not get me wrong, is Maya softening her preference. She is saying, look, I am not saying I hate hiking. I am just saying right now, for today, I would rather do this other thing. People add that kind of cushion all the time to make sure they do not sound rude or dismissive. Then Daniel responded. He said he was leaning toward the cafe. I love this phrase. Leaning toward means you are not completely decided yet, but your preference is moving in that direction. It is like you are standing between two things, and you are slowly tilting toward one of them. It is a very visual phrase when you think about it. And then he added something else. He said, I am more of an indoor person. This is another incredibly natural way to express preference. When you say you are more of a something person, you are telling the listener about a core part of your personality or habits. It is warm. It is personal. It reveals who you are. Then came the question, do you have a preference? This is how someone politely asks another person which option they would like. Short, sweet, open. No pressure in it at all. And Daniel answered beautifully. He said, I tend to like mornings better, actually. The word tend is doing important work there. When you say, I tend to like something, you are saying, this is usually how I feel. It is my general pattern, my habit. Actually, at the end, adds a tiny bit of emphasis, like he is being honest about something he maybe did not expect to share. And then Maya ended it with, I prefer starting my weekend early anyway. Classic use of prefer. Simple, clear, and a little bit revealing about her personality. She did not just say, morning is fine. She gave a reason. Makes the day feel longer. That is the human touch. That is what makes preference sound warm instead of mechanical. Now let us get you practicing. I want you to think about this. How do you prefer to spend your weekends? Do you lean toward going out or staying in? Are you more of a morning person or an afternoon person? Do not think too hard. Just finish this sentence out loud. Honestly, I would rather. Go ahead, say it. Talking out loud, even alone, is one of the best ways to get these phrases into your muscles, into the automatic part of your speech. Great. Now let us move to our second conversation. This time, we are at a small office. Two co-workers named Priya and James are on their lunch break, trying to decide where to eat. There is a little back and forth here, a little gentle negotiation, which is very typical when two people have slightly different preferences. Listen for all the ways they express what they like. Priya: James, have you eaten yet? I was thinking of heading out for lunch. Wanna come? James: Yeah, definitely. Where were you thinking? Priya: I was kinda hoping for something light. Maybe the salad place on 5th, or the soup spot around the corner. I am not really in the mood for anything heavy today. James: Oh, I hear you. I am actually more of a soup person myself, especially on a cold day like this. The soup place sounds perfect. Priya: Oh, good. I was not sure if you would be into that. Do you want to try their new mushroom soup? I keep seeing people post about it. James: Honestly, I would go for the classic tomato over the mushroom any day. I tend to stick with what I know when it comes to soup. But do not let that stop you. Get the mushroom if that is what you fancy. Priya: No, you know what? I think I will go for the tomato too. I usually end up preferring simple flavors in the end anyway. James: Great minds think alike. Priya: Let us go. Let us dig into this one. There is so much good stuff here. Priya started with, I was kind of hoping for something light. Did you catch that? Kind of hoping for is a soft, gentle way to express preference without sounding too demanding. The word kind of makes it feel relaxed, like she is open to other ideas too. And then she added, I am not really in the mood for anything heavy. This is indirect preference. She is telling you what she does not want in order to show you what she does want. People do this a lot. Instead of saying, I want something light, they say, I do not want anything heavy. Same meaning, different angle? James answered with something beautiful. I am actually more of a soup person myself. There it is again. More of a something person. He also added myself at the end, which gives it a little personal emphasis. Like he is saying, this is just a me thing. This is who I am. It is a very cozy, self-aware kind of expression. Then James said he would go for the classic tomato over the mushroom any day. Oh, any day is a great intensifier for preference. When you say you would choose something any day, you are saying it is not even close. That is just always going to be your pick. It is enthusiastic without being dramatic. And then he said, I tend to stick with what I know. Beautiful. Stick with what I know means he prefers familiar things over new ones. It is a personal trait, expressed gently and honestly. And Priya at the end said, I usually end up preferring simple flavors in the end anyway. Two great things here. Usually end up means that even when she tries to go a different direction, she typically comes back to the same thing. And, anyway, at the end is like a confirmation. It is almost a sigh of acceptance, like, yes, that is just how she is. It is very human. Let us do another practice moment. Think about food. What kind of flavors do you prefer? Are you more of a spicy person or a mild person? A sweet tooth or a savory lover? Try saying, I tend to go for, or I am more of a something person when it comes to food. Take your time. There is no rush. The more you practice these patterns, the more natural they will feel when you need them in a real conversation. Okay, moving on. Third conversation. This one is a little different. Two roommates, Sophie and Marcus, are deciding what to watch on TV on a Friday night. Choosing something to watch together is one of those beautiful everyday situations where preferences really come out, because people can be surprisingly passionate about their entertainment choices. Let us listen. Sophie: Marcus, come sit down. I need help picking something to watch. I have been scrolling for 20 minutes. Marcus: 20 minutes. Okay, okay. What are the options? Sophie. So there is this new thriller everyone has been talking about, or that nature documentary series I have been wanting to start. Or we could just re-watch something comfortable. What do you feel like? Marcus. I have to be honest. I am in more of a relaxed mood tonight. Something intense might be a bit much. So I would say either the documentary or something we have seen before. Sophie. Oh, same actually. I thought I was in the mood for a thriller, but now that I think about it, I am leaning more towards something calm. The nature documentary might be perfect. Marcus. I love nature documentaries, honestly. They are just so calming. I would pick that over a thriller any evening, to be fair. Sophie. Yeah, and we can always watch the thriller another night when we are more in the mood for it. Marcus. Exactly. Documentary it is. Oh, do you have a preference for where to sit? Couch or the beanbags? Sophie. Definitely the couch. I am a couch person, through and through. Marcus. I had a feeling you would say that. This conversation is full of preference language, and I love how casual and warm it feels. Let us pull it apart. Marcus started by setting up his preference with context. I am in more of a relaxed mood tonight. He is not just saying, I want the documentary. He is explaining his emotional state first, and then letting that guide his preference. This is very natural human speech. We often justify our preferences by explaining how we feel right now. I am tired, so I would rather, or I am excited, so I would love to. The mood comes first, and the preference follows. Then he said, something intense might be a bit much. This is indirect preference again. He is not saying, I hate thrillers. He is saying, given how I feel right now, something intense might be more than I can handle. Soft, kind, honest. Sophie then said, I thought I was in the mood for a thriller, but now that I think about it, I am leaning more towards something calm. Did you notice that? She actually changed her preference mid-sentence, and that is completely real. People do that. They reconsider. And the phrase, now that I think about it, signals that reconsideration. It is like watching someone's preference shift in real time. And leaning more toward, we heard this in the first conversation too. It keeps coming up because it is just such a natural phrase. Marcus then said, I would pick that over a thriller any evening, to be fair. There is any evening, similar to any day from before. And, to be fair, is a small phrase that adds a little honesty to the statement. It is like he is saying, look, I am just being real with you here. It softens the strong preference and makes it feel less like a demand. And then, my favorite part of this whole conversation, Sophie said, I am a couch person through and through. Through and through. This means completely, entirely, without question. It is an intensifier. She is not just saying she likes the couch, she is saying this is absolutely, 100%, completely her. It is funny and warm and very expressive. Here is your next practice prompt. Think about something you enjoy watching or doing to relax. Finish this sentence. Honestly, I would pick this over that any day. And then add, I am more of a something person, through and through. Say it naturally. Do not worry about being perfect. The goal right now is to make these phrases feel familiar in your mouth, familiar in your mind. Let us go a little deeper now. I want to talk about something subtle that you might not notice at first. How preference can be expressed through questions. Sometimes when someone asks a question, They are actually revealing their own preference at the same time. This is something really interesting about natural conversation. The question and the preference are wrapped up together. Let me show you with a quick exchange between two friends, Nadia and Leo. Nadia, would you rather walk or take the bus? Leo, walk, for sure. You? Nadia, yeah, I was hoping you would say, walk. I just love being outside, especially when it is not raining. Leo, same. I would always choose walking if I had the time. Short and simple, but beautiful. Notice how Nadia asked, would you rather walk or take the bus? That is a very direct preference question. Would you rather sets up a choice between two options and asks which one the other person likes more. It is polite, it is open, and it puts no pressure on the answer. Leo answered with walk, for sure. Short, confident, clear. For sure adds enthusiasm to the preference without being dramatic. And then Leo did something kind. He said, you. He turned the question back to Nadia. This is conversational politeness. After sharing your preference, you invite the other person to share theirs. Nadia then said, I was hoping you would say, walk. That little phrase is so human and so sweet. I was hoping you would say means she had a preference, but she wanted it to match the other person's preference. She was hoping they were on the same page. It is preference with a dash of relationship warmth. And Leo ended with, I would always choose walking if I had the time. The word always is an intensifier. It makes the preference feel like a deep, ongoing habit. And, if I had the time, adds a practical qualification. It is honest. He is not just saying he loves walking. He is saying he loves it. And time is the only thing that sometimes gets in the way. All right, I want to pause here for a second and check in with you. How are you feeling? Are these phrases starting to sound familiar? Are you starting to hear the patterns? I hope so. Because learning a language is not about memorizing a list, it is about building familiarity. The more you hear these phrases, the more they become part of your internal voice. And one day, maybe soon, you will be in a real conversation in English, and one of these phrases will just come out of you naturally. That is the moment. That is what we are building toward. Let us keep going. Fourth conversation. This time we are at a bookshop. Two friends, Clara and Ben, are looking for a book as a gift for their mutual friend. This situation is fun, because both of them are trying to figure out what someone else's preference might be, which is actually a great way to hear preference language used indirectly. Clara. Okay, so we know she loves reading, but what kind of books does she like? That is the question. Ben. From what I remember, she tends to go for literary fiction. You know, the more serious kind of storytelling. She has mentioned a few times that she finds genre fiction a bit predictable. Clara. Oh, really? I always assumed she was more of a mystery lover. Ben. She might enjoy a good mystery if the writing is strong, but I think, given the choice, she would lean more toward something with a lot of depth. Character-driven stuff? Clara. That actually makes sense. She once told me she would rather read a slow, beautiful book than a fast-paced one. I remember thinking, okay, we are very different people. Ben. Me too, honestly. I am much more of a plot-driven person. I love when things are happening, when there is tension. Clara. Same. But anyway, this is not about us. So, character-driven literary fiction? Any specific authors she tends to mention? Ben. She has said she loves that one Irish writer. I cannot remember the name. But she said she prefers Irish writers in general because they have this particular way with language. Something about the rhythm of the sentences. Clara, that is such a specific preference. I love it. Okay, let us ask the shop assistant. So many good things here. Let us walk through them. Ben said she tends to go for literary fiction. We have seen tends to before, and here it is being used to describe someone else's preference, not just your own. You can use this pattern to talk about anyone. He tends to like spicy food. She tends to go for classic films. It is an incredibly flexible and natural phrase. Then Ben said, given the choice, she would lean more toward something with a lot of depth. Given the choice. That is a lovely phrase. It means if she has options, if it is up to her, this is what she would pick. It puts her in a position of freedom and shows what she gravitates toward naturally. Clara recalled a conversation. She once told me she would rather read a slow, beautiful book than a fast-paced one. There is I would rather again, but this time, Clara is reporting it as something her friend said. You can quote other people's preferences like this. It is a very natural way of explaining someone's personality. And then both Clara and Ben revealed their own preferences without even meaning to. Ben said, I am much more of a plot-driven person. Clara agreed. They were talking about someone else, but their own personalities slipped out naturally. That is what real conversation does. It reveals us, even when we are talking about other people. Ben also said she prefers Irish writers in general. Simple, direct use of prefer. And then he gave a beautiful reason. Because they have this particular way with language, something about the rhythm of the sentences. This is preference with appreciation. He is not just saying she likes them. He is explaining what it is about them that she likes. Reasons make preferences feel more real, more personal. Here is a practice moment. Think of a friend or family member. What do they tend to like? What kind of person are they? A music person, a sports person, an outdoors person. Try to describe their preferences using the phrases we have covered. Say something like, my friend tends to go for, or, given the choice, she would always pick. Talking about others' preferences is actually great practice, because it forces you to really use these phrases from a different angle. Now I want to give you something really useful, a complete tour through the preference phrases we have covered so far, explained naturally, so they really stick. The phrase, I would rather, is probably the most common preference phrase in everyday English. It is warm, gentle, and never sounds rude. You can use it in almost any situation. I would rather have tea than coffee. I would rather stay home tonight. I would rather not talk about that right now. The last one is important too. You can use I would rather not to politely decline or express discomfort. It is soft and respectful. Then there is I tend to. This is beautiful because it talks about patterns and habits. It says, this is usually how I am. I tend to wake up early. I tend to prefer quieter places. It makes your preference sound like something natural about you, not just a one-time mood. We have, I am more of a something person. This one is deeply personal. It is almost like you are introducing yourself through your preferences. I am more of a coffee person. I am more of a night owl. I am more of a dog's person than a cat's person. Every time someone uses this phrase, you learn something real about who they are. There is also leaning toward. This one is great because it implies you are still slightly open, but your preference is becoming clearer. I am leaning toward the blue dress. I am leaning toward staying home, honestly. It sounds thoughtful and flexible. And then we have, I would pick this over that any day, or any evening, or any time. This is your strong preference intensifier. When you use any day, you are saying, without a doubt, hands down, every single time, this is my choice. It is enthusiastic, but not aggressive. There is also I prefer. The classic. Simple, clear, always appropriate. I prefer walking to driving. I prefer classical music. I prefer to work in the morning. Always useful. Always understood. And finally, given the choice, which signals that you are expressing your natural tendency when options are available. Given the choice, I would always take the window seat. Given the choice, I would pick summer over winter. It is a little bit elegant and very expressive. Let us do one more full conversation now. This one is longer and more layered. Two colleagues, Zara and Tom, are at a work event, and they end up in a lovely, wandering conversation about travel preferences. Travel is one of those topics that really brings out deep personal preferences. Where people want to go, how they like to travel, what they love about it. Listen carefully. There are lots of preference moments layered throughout. Zara. Tom, I did not know you were going to be here tonight. Do you come to these things often? Tom. Not really. I tend to skip these kinds of events, honestly. I am more of an introvert. Big groups can be a bit overwhelming for me. But I made an exception tonight. How about you? Are you a networking event person? Zara. Honestly, I prefer smaller gatherings, but I find value in showing up occasionally. So here I am. Tom. Fair enough. Hey, I heard you just came back from somewhere. Where did you go? Zara. Portugal. It was absolutely wonderful. Have you been? Tom. No, but I have been thinking about going. I would love to go to Southern Europe. I am more of a Mediterranean person. The food, the weather, the slow pace of life. Zara. Oh, you would love it then. Do you have a preference for how you travel? Like planned itinerary or more spontaneous? Tom. Definitely more spontaneous. I would rather not know exactly what I am doing each day. I like the feeling of waking up and deciding in the moment. What about you? Zara. I used to be like that, actually. But after a few trips where things went wrong, I tend to lean toward a bit more structure now. Not rigid, just a light plan. A direction, not a schedule. Tom. That is a good middle ground. Yeah, I would say I am like 60% spontaneous and 40% planned. Zara. That is very precise. Okay, what about accommodation? Hotel person or more of an Airbnb type? Tom. Oh, Airbnb for sure. I love staying somewhere that feels like a real home. I would pick a cozy apartment over a hotel any day. Hotels feel a bit anonymous to me. Zara. I actually go back and forth on that one. I love the comfort and reliability of a hotel, but I also love how personal an Airbnb can feel. I guess it depends on the trip. Tom. That makes sense. Oh, one more. Beach or mountains? Zara. Mountains, without a doubt. I love being up high, looking out at everything. There is something almost spiritual about it for me. You? Tom. Beach. 100%. I am a beach person through and through. I need the sound of the ocean. It does something to my soul. Zara. Okay, we are very different travelers. Tom. And yet, somehow, we are both at this networking event. Funny how that works. I love that conversation. It moves so naturally, and it is full of preference language used in the most human, flowing way. Let us break down the highlights. Tom opened with, "I tend to skip these kinds of events, honestly." Immediately, he is using preference language, tend to explain his general habit. And he followed it with, "I am more of an introvert." He used more of a to describe his personality, which of course shapes all his preferences. This is a great example of how personality and preference are connected. Zara responded with, "I prefer smaller gatherings. Simple, direct, clean." And then she balanced it with, "But I find value in showing up occasionally." She is not fully against big events. She just prefers smaller ones. That nuance is very real. Most preferences are not absolute. They have texture and context. Tom said he is more of a Mediterranean person. He is applying that classic phrase to a whole region of the world and a whole lifestyle. The food, the weather, the slow pace. He listed the things he loves, which made his preference feel rich and layered. When Zara asked about travel style, Tom said, "I would rather not know exactly what I am doing each day." There is, "I would rather not," expressing a preference by saying what you would like to avoid. Powerful and very natural. And then he explained it beautifully. "I like the feeling of waking up and deciding in the moment." That is preference grounded in emotion. He does not just prefer spontaneity. He loves how it feels. Zara's answer was equally wonderful. "I tend to lean toward a bit more structure now." She combined two preference phrases, tend to and lean toward, into one sentence. And then she clarified, not rigid, just a light plan, a direction, not a schedule. That distinction is so expressive and so human. She is not just saying she likes planning. She is describing exactly what kind of planning she means. And then at the end, both of them went for strong, emphatic preference statements. Zara said, "Mountains, without a doubt." Tom said, "Beach, 100%. I am a beach person through and through." Both of them used intensifiers. "Without a doubt, 100%, through and through," to make their preferences feel vivid and real. And then Tom ended with something beautiful. "It does something to my soul." That is preference as emotional truth. He is not just saying he likes the beach. He is saying it moves him. Now here is something I really want you to think about. Have you noticed that in all of these conversations, nobody sounds robotic? Nobody sounds like they are reading from a list. The preferences all come with context, with little personal stories, with personality. That is the key. When you express preference in English, do not just say the phrase and stop. Add a little why. Add a feeling. Add "for me," or "honestly," or "you know." Those small additions make you sound like a real person, not a language textbook. Let us practice one more time. This one is a full response practice. I want you to answer this question as if I asked you in real life. Do you prefer city life or life in the countryside, and why? Take a moment. Think about what your actual preference is. Then try to use at least two of the phrases we have practiced today. Say something like, "Honestly, I would rather live in the city because," or "I am more of a countryside person, given the choice, because." Go ahead. Answer it out loud. Let the words come. Do not aim for perfect. Aim for natural. Beautiful. You are doing exactly what language learning looks like at its best. Trying, speaking, feeling the phrases in your mouth. This is how fluency happens, not in one big dramatic moment, but in lots and lots of small moments just like that one. Let me give you one more scenario. This one is a little different. It is a shopping situation. Two friends, Lily and Owen, are in a clothing store. Owen is trying to find something to wear to a dinner, and Lily is helping him decide. Shopping conversations are great for preference language because every single moment involves making a choice. Lily: okay, so we have the dark blue shirt or the charcoal gray one. Which one feels more like you? Owen: I tend to go with darker colors in general, but I actually love both of these. If I had to choose, maybe the blue? Blue feels a bit more alive, you know? Lily: I was leaning toward the blue too, honestly. It suits you better, I think. What about the jacket? Blazer or no blazer? Owen: for a dinner, I would rather go with the blazer. It makes you look like you put in some effort without being overdressed. Lily: good call. Do you have a preference for the fit? This one is slim, and this one is more relaxed. Owen: I used to go for relaxed, but lately I prefer a slimmer fit. I just feel more confident in it. Lily: go for it. And shoes, casual or dressy? Owen: I would pick dressy, given the setting. I would rather be slightly overdressed than underdressed. It is just less stressful. Lily: smart. Okay, I think you have got your outfit. Blue shirt, blazer, slim fit, dressy shoes. Owen: that works. Thanks for always knowing what looks good. Lily: that is what I am here for. Short and lovely. Let us look at a few key moments. Owen said, I tend to go with darker colors in general. Again, tend to, plus in general. These two together really emphasize that this is his usual pattern. Not just today, not just for this outfit. Generally speaking, this is how he rolls. Then, if I had to choose, maybe the blue? If I had to choose is a fantastic expression of preference when you like two things. You are saying, both are great, but if you are forcing me to pick just one, here is what I would go with. It is humble and honest. Owen then said, blue feels a bit more alive, you know? And this is gorgeous. He did not just say, I like blue. He described what blue feels like to him. He gave it a personality, alive. That is the kind of expressiveness that makes conversation feel real. Try doing that with your own preferences. Instead of just saying what you like, say what it feels like. And then, I would rather be slightly overdressed than underdressed. It is just less stressful. This is preference grounded in logic and personal experience. He is not just saying he prefers dressy, he is explaining why. It is about managing stress, about the way he feels when he walks into a room. Preference with reasoning always sounds more human. We are getting near the end of today's lesson, and I want to do something a little special. Let us have a moment where you test yourself. I am going to say a preference situation, and I want you to respond out loud using one of the phrases we have practiced. Ready? Here we go. Situation 1. Someone asks you, tea or coffee? What is your answer? Try to use, I am more of a something person, or I would pick this over that any day. Go ahead. Situation 2. Your friend asks you, would you rather travel somewhere new or revisit a place you have loved? Answer with, I would rather, or honestly, given the choice. Go on. Say it out loud. Situation 3. Someone asks you what kind of music you tend to listen to. Answer using, I tend to go for, or I would say, I am more of a something person when it comes to music. Really commit to it. Give a little reason if you can. Situation 4. Someone asks whether you prefer working alone or in a team. Answer using, I prefer, and add a sentence explaining why. Situation 5. Someone asks you if you like mornings or evenings. Answer with, I am more of a something person, and tell them something about how that time of day makes you feel. How did that go? I genuinely hope you spoke out loud for those, because that is the practice. That is the muscle we are building. Listening is one half. Speaking is the other. Both matter. Both make you stronger. Let me now give you a beautifully complete summary of everything, all the phrases we worked with today, explained naturally, so they really stick. When you want to say what you prefer, you have so many natural choices. You can say, I would rather, when you are comparing two options and choosing one. You can say, I tend to, when you are talking about your habits and patterns, the things you usually do or usually enjoy. You can say, I am more of a something person, when you want to describe something as part of your personality or your general style. You can say, leaning toward, when you are still deciding, but your preference is becoming clear. You can say, I would pick this over that any day, when you feel strongly and want to express that without any doubt. You can say, I prefer, when you want something clear and simple and direct. You can say, given the choice, when you want to show what you would naturally choose if the decision were up to you. And you can say, if I had to choose, when you genuinely like two things, but are being pushed to pick just one. And here is the final thing I want you to take away from today. It is not just the phrases, it is the way you use them. Real preference sounds warm. It comes with little explanations and feelings and personality. When you say what you like, let a bit of yourself come through. Say honestly before it. Say, you know, after it. Add, for me, or to be honest, or if I am being real. Those little touches are what separate language from communication. And communication is what we are really after. You came here today to practice B1 English listening. And you did that. But you also did something more. You spent time with real English, the kind that lives in cafes and bookshops and offices and living rooms, the kind that moves between friends and co-workers and strangers who are becoming friends. You heard how preference sounds when it is real, when it is warm, when it is honest, and that is what fluency actually is. Not perfect grammar, not a huge vocabulary. It is sounding like a real person who has thoughts and feelings and things they love. If this lesson helped you, please give it a thumbs up right now. Seriously. It helps this channel more than you might realize, and it helps other learners find content like this. If you have a friend who is learning English, share this video with them. Learning together is always better than learning alone. And subscribe to English in Fluency if you have not already. Every single week, I am here with something new. New conversations, new practice, new ways to grow. I genuinely love doing this. I love thinking about what you need, what will help you, what will make real English feel less scary and more like home. Leave me a comment below. Tell me one preference you have using a phrase from today's lesson. Tell me, are you more of a coffee or tea person? A mountains or beach person? A morning or night person? Use the phrase. Write it out. Let us see what you have got. I read every single comment, and I love seeing how you put these things into practice. All right? That is everything for today. I am Alex, and this has been English in Fluency. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. Keep listening. Keep speaking. Keep showing up. You are doing so much better than you think. I will see you in the next one. Now, before I wrap up, I want to spend a little more time with you on something that I think is really going to help. Because here is the thing. A lot of learners at the B1 level can understand preference when they hear it clearly and slowly. But in real conversations, things move faster. People overlap. They interrupt themselves. They change direction mid-sentence. And the preference phrases get buried inside longer, messier stretches of speech. So I want to give you some practice with exactly that. The slightly faster, slightly messier, very real version of how people express preference. Let me walk you through one more conversation, and this time I want you to really push your listening. This is two university students, Farah and Oscar, and they are trying to figure out what to do on a study break. It is lunchtime. They have about 45 minutes. Nothing is decided, and they both have opinions. Let us listen. Farah: Oscar, can we please figure out lunch? My brain is melting. I need food. Oscar: Yes, absolutely. Okay. Options: we could go to the student cafeteria, or there is that noodle place down the road. Or we could just grab something from the convenience store and eat outside. What are you feeling? Farah: Honestly, I am not really in the mood for the cafeteria. I find it too loud and crowded at this time. I would much rather go somewhere I can actually hear myself think. Oscar: Okay, same, honestly. I tend to avoid the cafeteria on Wednesdays because it is just chaos. So, noodle place or outside? Farah: I love the noodle place, but I am a little low on cash today. I would lean toward the convenience store option if we are being practical. We can sit by the fountain. Oscar: Oh, that actually sounds really nice. I am more of an outdoor person anyway. Eating outside always feels better to me than being stuck inside, even just in a cafeteria. Farah: Right? There is something about fresh air that makes food taste better. Oscar: Totally. Okay. Convenience store it is. Do you have a preference on what to get? Sandwiches. Or they have those rice boxes now. Farah: Oh, I would go for the rice box any day over a sandwich. I always feel like sandwiches are never enough for me. I need something warm. Oscar: Yes, me too. I prefer a proper meal over something you eat in 2 bites. Rice box it is. Let us go. Farah: Finally. Okay, last question. Which way do you want to go? Through the main building or around the garden path? Oscar: If I had to choose, the garden path. I know it is a bit longer, but I genuinely love that walk. I tend to feel much calmer after it. Farah: I was hoping you would say that. I would rather take 5 extra minutes and arrive somewhere beautiful than take the shortcut and arrive stressed. Oscar: That is very poetic for someone whose brain is melting. Farah: Ha 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 ha. Come on, let us go. Beautiful, right? Did you catch how fast some of those preference expressions came? Let us go back through them and make sure everything landed properly. Farah said, I am not really in the mood for the cafeteria. This is one of the softest ways to express preference, through what you do not want. Not really in the mood for is so natural and so gentle. It does not say, I hate the cafeteria. It just says, right now, today, that is not what I feel like. And then she followed it with, I would much rather go somewhere I can actually hear myself think. The word much before rather adds intensity. I would rather is a preference. I would much rather is a stronger preference. That one small word shifts the whole feeling. Oscar replied with, I tend to avoid the cafeteria on Wednesdays. There is tend to again, and this time it is paired with a very specific detail. Wednesdays. That specificity makes it feel incredibly real. He is not just saying he sometimes avoids the cafeteria. He has a specific day in mind because he has learned from experience. Farah said, "I would lean toward the convenience store option if we are being practical." That conditional addition, "if we are being practical," is really interesting. It tells you that her preference is influenced by circumstances. She does not always prefer the cheap option. But today, being practical, that is what makes sense. Preference in real life is always shaped by context. Oscar said, "I am more of an outdoor person anyway," and then added, "Eaten outside always feels better to me than being stuck inside." He explained his preference by comparing the feelings. Better. Not just different, but better. That evaluative word shows how much he genuinely feels this. Farah said, "I would go for the rice box any day over a sandwich." Any day. We have heard this intensifier before, and now it is showing up again, naturally, the way it would in real speech. Oscar said, "I prefer a proper meal over something you eat in 2 bites." And I love that reason. It is funny and specific and human. He is not just saying he prefers rice. He is saying he does not like food that disappears too fast. And then, at the end, Oscar used, "if I had to choose," the garden path. He even acknowledged it was a bit longer. But his preference was clear. And Farah responded with, "I was hoping you would say that." Again, that lovely phrase. "I was hoping you would say that." She wanted her preference to match his. She wanted them to be aligned, and they were. This is the beautiful thing about preference language. It is not just about expressing your own wants. It is also about connecting with another person. When 2 people discover that they want the same thing, there is a little moment of warmth. I was hoping you would say that. 4 words that say, "We are on the same page. We are a team. I like you. Let me now give you something completely practical. Let us talk about how to respond gracefully when someone has a different preference from you." Because in real conversations, people do not always want the same thing. And you need to be able to say, "Oh, I understand. That is not really my thing," without sounding rude or dismissive. Here are some natural ways people do this. You might say something like, "That is not really my scene, but I can see why you love it." This shows that you respect the other person's preference, even though you do not share it. You might say, "It is just not quite for me." Simple, honest, not harsh. Or you could say, "I tend to find that a bit much," honestly. That little word, honestly, softens everything. Or, "I have never really gotten into it, but maybe I should give it another try." This is preference with humility. You are acknowledging that your preference might not be fixed forever. And the reverse is also true. When someone shares a preference that surprises you, you might respond with, "Oh, interesting. I would never have guessed that about you." Or, "Ha, really? That is not what I expected." These responses acknowledge the preference and show you are engaged without making the person feel judged. All of this matters because preference in English is social. It is not just about communication of information. It is about relationship. When you share what you like, you are sharing a piece of who you are. And when you respond well to someone else's preference, you are saying, "I see you. I am interested in who you are." Let us do one final extended practice. I am going to give you a full scenario, and I want you to play one of the roles. Imagine you are chatting with a new friend named Eli. Eli does not know much about you yet. He is curious. He wants to get to know you. And he is asking you preference questions, one after another. Your job is to answer each one naturally, using the phrases we have practiced. I will be Eli. You be yourself. Eli says, "So, what kind of food do you tend to go for? Like, are you more of a home-cooking person, or do you prefer eating out?" Take a moment. Answer him. Use I tend to, or I am more of a something person, or I would rather. Do not just say one word. Give a little reason. Make it feel real. Make it feel like you. Eli says, "Oh, cool. And when it comes to weekends, what do you prefer doing? Staying in and relaxing, or being out and about doing things?" Answer him. Use I prefer, or given the choice, or I lean toward. Be honest about how you actually feel. Eli says, "Interesting. Okay, last one. If you had to choose between learning a new skill or traveling somewhere new, which would you pick and why?" Answer him. Use if I had to choose, or I would pick this over that, any day, or I would rather. Give a reason. Make it human. Make it yours. How did that feel? Did it flow? Did you surprise yourself with how much you actually had to say? That is the goal. Not just understanding these phrases when you hear them, using them so naturally that they become part of how you think in English. I want to share one last thought with you before we close. Preference is one of the most personal things in language. When you say what you like and what you would rather do and who you are as a person, you are not just practicing English. You are practicing being yourself in another language, and that is incredibly brave. Every time you open your mouth in English and share something real about yourself, you are doing something that takes real courage. Because it is not just language anymore. It is you. So do not be afraid to say, "I am more of a mountains person." Do not be shy about saying, "Honestly, I would rather stay in tonight." Do not hold back when you want to say, "I tend to prefer things that are quiet and calm." Let people know who you are. Because your preferences are interesting. Your opinions matter. And the world of English conversation is a richer place when you show up in it fully, with all your likes and dislikes, and "I would rather," and "I tend to," and "I am more of a something person" moments. That is what language is for, not just to exchange information, but to connect, to be known, to find the people who say, "I was hoping you would say that." You have worked really hard today. You listened to 6 natural conversations. You practiced speaking out loud multiple times. You learned dozens of real, natural preference expressions and heard them used in context over and over again. You should feel proud of that. Really. If you want to keep going, there is a whole playlist of B1 listening practice videos on this channel that you can dive into right now. Each one is built the same way as today. Real conversations, natural language, careful breakdowns, practice moments. The more you listen, the faster your English will grow. I promise you that. And if you ever feel stuck, if you ever feel like your English is not moving forward, come back here. Watch this again. Practice the phrases again. Because every time you listen, you hear something new. Every time you practice, the phrases feel a little more natural. Language learning is not a straight line. It is a spiral. You keep coming back to the same things from a slightly higher place each time. And one day, you will look back and realize just how far you have come. Thank you for being part of English in Fluency. I am Alex, and I will see you in the very next lesson. Keep going. Let me add one more thing before I truly let you go, because I think this part is something a lot of learners miss, and it is going to make a real difference for you. We have talked a lot about how to say what you prefer, but there is another layer to this skill that is just as important, and that is knowing how to listen for preference when it is hidden inside regular conversation. Because sometimes people do not announce their preferences clearly. They do not start the sentence with "I prefer" or "I would rather." Sometimes the preference is just quietly there, inside the way they describe something. Let me give you an example. Imagine someone says, "Oh, we went to this little restaurant last night. Tiny place, no reservations. You just walk in and hope for the best. It was noisy and the lighting was terrible, but the food was incredible, and we stayed for 3 hours, just talking." Now, that person never said, "I prefer this kind of restaurant." But did you feel it? Did you hear what they love? They love the spontaneity. They love the kind of place that is a little rough around the edges but full of life. They would rather have amazing food and great conversation than perfect ambiance. Their preference is hidden inside the story. This is what advanced listening really looks like. Not just catching the words "I prefer" or "I would rather," but understanding the feeling behind the story. Reading between the lines of what someone shares. When a person lights up while describing something, that is preference. When they laugh while telling a story, that is preference. When they say honestly or "to be fair" before sharing an opinion, that is preference. All of these are signals, and training your ear to catch them is one of the most powerful things you can do as a listener. So here is a little exercise I want you to try in your daily life, outside of this video. The next time you have a conversation in English, or the next time you watch a video or a show in English, I want you to listen specifically for hidden preferences, not just the clear ones with "I prefer" or "I would rather," but the ones buried in descriptions, the ones inside emotions, the ones that come out when someone gets excited or reflective or nostalgic. Try to notice them. Try to name them. Say to yourself, "Oh, that person loves this. Oh, she would always choose that. Oh, he is definitely more of a something person." This kind of active listening will transform not just your English comprehension, but your whole relationship with the language. Because once you start hearing people this deeply, you will start to feel at home in English. Not like a foreign visitor trying to decode a difficult code, but like someone who genuinely understands the people around them. And of course, the same applies when you speak. Let your preferences come through naturally. Do not just answer the question. Tell the story. Describe the feeling. Let people see who you are through what you love, and what you would rather do, and what you tend to gravitate toward. That is the real you. And the real you, in any language, is always the most interesting version. All right, I am truly done now. I am Alex. This has been English in Fluency. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for watching all the way to the end. That tells me you are serious. That tells me you are growing. Go practice. Go speak. Go show the world what you have got. And I will see you in the next video. One more thing, and I really mean it this time. This is the last thing. I want to talk about what happens after you finish a lesson like this one. Because the gap between watching a video and actually using what you learned is where most learners get stuck. You watch, you nod, you think, "Yes, that makes sense," and then you close the tab and go back to your day. And 3 days later, when you need to express a preference in English, your mind goes blank. The phrases are there, somewhere, but they are not quite ready, not quite automatic. So here is what I want you to do differently. Today, after this video, pick just 3 phrases from our lesson. Just 3. Maybe, I would rather, I tend to, and I am more of a something person. Write them down. Put them on a sticky note. Put them on your phone wallpaper. Put them somewhere you will see them. And then, in the next 24 hours, try to use each one. At least once. It does not matter how. You can write it in a message to a friend. You can say it out loud to yourself while you are making coffee. You can write it in your journal. You can say it in a comment below this video. Just use it. Because using something once, even imperfectly, is worth more than watching 10 videos. The doing is where the learning actually happens. And then, tomorrow, do the same thing. The next day, the same thing. By the end of a week, those 3 phrases will feel easy. Natural, ready, and then you can add 3 more. This is how fluency is actually built. Slowly, consistently, 1 phrase at a time. There is no shortcut, but there is a process. And this is it. You are on the right path. You have always been on the right path. Every lesson you finish, every phrase you try, every time you show up, even when you are tired or busy or unsure, you are moving forward. You might not feel it every day, but it is happening. Trust it. Trust yourself. And trust the process. This is English in Fluency. I am Alex, and I am so glad you are here. Remember that each conversation we listened to today was full of something special beyond just the phrases. It was full of personality. Every character you heard had their own way of speaking. Maya was warm and a little tired. Daniel was agreeable and self-aware. Priya was gentle and practical. James was honest and a little old-fashioned with his soup choices. Sophie was decisive in her own cozy way. Marcus was thoughtful. Nadia had that wonderful mix of being opinionated and still curious about what others think. Leo was easygoing but definite. Clara was observant. Ben was warm and a little literary. Zara was reflective. Tom was enthusiastic and personal. Farah was direct and funny. Oscar was gentle and appreciative of small, beautiful things. Lily was confident. Owen was self-aware and a little careful. None of those people exist, of course, but each of them felt real, did they not? And the reason they felt real is because their preferences were specific. Their preferences revealed something true about who they were. And that is the lesson underneath the lesson. In English, when you talk about what you prefer and what you love and what you would rather do, you are not just communicating a choice. You are painting a picture of yourself. You are helping the other person understand who they are talking to. And the more honest and specific you are with your preferences, the more vivid and real you become in conversation. So the next time someone asks you a simple question about what you like or what you would prefer, do not just give the quickest, shortest answer. Take a breath. Tell them something real. Tell them why. Tell them what it feels like. Be the person who says, I am more of a mountains person through and through, because there is something about standing at the top and looking out at everything that makes all the noise in my head go quiet. Be that specific. Be that human. That is what makes conversation memorable. That is what makes you someone worth talking to. Thank you again. I mean it every time. See you next lesson.